Welcome, affiliate listeners, to another episode of the Affiliated Podcast. We are so excited today to be joined by an amazing guest, and we're going to be having a fantastic conversation. We're talking about, I think, one of the more critical things that any business, any affiliate, entrepreneur, anyone out there, you as a listener, could do to make your business better, and it is woefully missed. And we're going to be talking about that and sharing some really amazing examples with one of our personal favorite guests and a friend, and someone that actually lives locally in Boise. But before we get to them, let me introduce the amazing Thomas McMahon, our co-host, lover of hugging pillows during our episode. How many gadgets do you have to fiddle with today?
I've got my pen, which is not just a gadget, it's useful. And I got my pillow, and I won't touch my phone.
Okay, awesome. So perfect. So that's for those that need to know that Thomas is always going to have something in his hand, like a character in a cartoon. But we are joined today by the fantastic, the brilliant, the enjoyable. Maybe new words. It's so enjoyable, I don't need to finish the word. Alex Adame. How are you doing today, Alex?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, super excited to have you. And we're actually going to be talking about relationships, not personal ones, but in business. And how, I know, Thomas, sorry, that was for later. We'll do that another time.
I need some help.
But we're going to be talking about how that could change a business and take it to a new level, and exactly what kind of relationship and how to foster that. Before we jump into it, though, Alex, as per tradition, we're inside our studio. It means that we need to not be sober in some capacity. So we're doing something a little bit different. Instead of highlighting a liquor, we now have our amazing, and this is where we zoom in. We have our affiliated branded from Dylan, whatever this would be, a carafe, pour, liquor thing.
A decanter.
Decanter, there we go. I think, no, I was going to make some stupid joke. Anyway, we will. But so what we're going to do now is instead we're going to do a toast for our guests. So today we're going to toast to Alex, who is not only bullish in anything that he wants to talk about and passionate, but it's passionate about people, caring, and doing business the right way, which is one of the reasons that I love and respect you, man. So
thank you.
To relationships.
Relationships.
Ting. Oh, that was such a good sound.
Pappy Van Winkle-ish.
Oh, yes. Only the best for you.
Taste burn in the throat.
Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. I poured myself much larger, so it's like if I chug all of it, I'm just going to look like a real depraved person. But I'm going to pull Thomas and just make sure that it's all gone like a cheesecake by the end of the podcast for sure. So,
Crush it.
well, let's jump into it. So we mentioned it from the get-go, Alex, that, well, actually, we're going to go into the relationship side, but before we jump into that, tell the people essentially what led you here. Like, how did you get yourself in the business? Because you weren't always, you know, kind of a rock star when it comes to being an affiliate manager and dealing in partnerships and everything in online marketing. You came from a different realm before that. So kind of walk us through where you went from the hospitality region over into where you are today.
Sure. I started out, as you said, this is my second career. My first career was in hospitality, worked for Hilton Hotels, had a number of hotels, working with them. And a lot of what we did there is what's translated here. And I've brought a lot of those skill sets and techniques that made me successful here, which was relationship building, which is what we're going to be talking about today. One of the words that, or one of the concepts that really hasn't translated from brick and mortar businesses to the affiliate world, which is not so much brick and mortar, is culture. And the dynamic of what culture looks like and how it translates into relationship, right?
Yeah.
And so in that world, it was all about that. It was all about the people that we worked with. There was a philosophy that we had which was, regardless of what level of management you were in, your primary customer was your direct report. So the people, the general managers that ran the hotels that I oversaw, they were my customer, right? My job and everything I did was for them, so that their next line of customers, which were their employees, and of course the customers themselves were well taken care of. And again, that philosophy worked all the way down through to housekeeping in hotels, where who is your customer and what are we doing to best take care of them and have strong, well-built relationships with them. So that's what I did there. It's kind of a longer story how I got into affiliate marketing, but needless to say, I started with Dan and Allgood. I'm in my 8th year now.
Nice.
Love every bit of what we're doing. It's been an extension of relationship building and that dynamic, and watching culture get built, which again is one of the things that is so intangible and not talked about in what we do, is culture and relationship building. And I can say that in what we do, our success is built on that concept. And even Dan, you know, how Dan Toe runs his business is about relationship, how he relates to his team. He's one of the most innovative and he runs a very complimentary business where he takes the team that he has and gets their input, their feedback, and helps chart the course through a collective voice versus an individual one. Although he certainly is a visionary and leads our team well, he includes the entire team in the process of what we're doing, and it's made us very successful.
Yeah.
You know, again, you could talk forever about culture, but it establishes trust and rapport with the team that has translated to how we do business.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I don't know, I bumped together, but I was just saying one thing that's great about culture, you said culture and relationships. They will either be created intentionally or unintentionally, but they happen no matter what. And I think that's a key thing. You're very right. We don't talk about culture, but it's happening in your business, even if it's just you. If it's a culture of one, it's the culture of how you interact with others, and those relationships will happen, right? And how you develop that, whether it's intentional or not, there's some sort of impact to that. So I just love that, you know, you could see what Hilton did is they made it very specific that this is the culture, this is what we're about, and here's how we go and focus on relationships as a part of that culture through intention. Sure. And, you know, you mentioned with Dan, what you guys have going on is, again, you could just hear the intention around the culture. But oftentimes, if there's no intention, it develops itself.
Sure.
And a bad culture could become the worst part of your business. And
It's
also
like
sometimes,
cancer.
Yeah, and one of the hardest things to fix. And particularly, I think when culture could show itself as a real detriment is as soon as a challenge comes up in your business. A bad culture could eat you alive.
Sure.
If you don't have that right. So I just wanted to, like, listen, you might say, oh, culture's not important. Like, it's happening in your business, whether you want it to or not. It's already happening. You might as well hopefully have some insights into what it ends up being like.
And culture will be the cornerstone of your success or failure, whether you realize that or believe that or not. It's what will define your business as a whole.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So, which is why this conversation is going to be so exciting because we are going to be jumping into that. But Thomas, we had a verbal collision. So, what were you about to say?
Well, I'll actually pivot away from what I was going to say. I was curious though, like when you joined 8 years ago at All Good, Dan, how long had the company been running before you joined?
Oh, many years.
Yeah.
I can't say exactly how many, but it's been a lot of years that Dan has been doing this.
With the culture conversation, like, is that something that, I guess if you had to describe All Good's culture, like in an elevator pitch, I guess, like how would you describe it?
I'll tell you, our culture is collaborative. You know, it's a very team oriented concept. Certainly, you have each department head and how Miles, our COO, runs things on a day to day, and how Dan is the visionary of the company. But, you know, it's about laying out a vision and a goal, and then getting the team to buy in and participating in that goal and that vision, which is so important because if it's just do as I say, and that's how it is, that kind of philosophy doesn't work. If you're going to get things done, but if you're trying to grow a business that's going to excel and go to the place that you want it to, you have to have a buy-in with your team. You have to have your key department heads buy into the vision that's being cast, right? And be able to execute it. And to be able to execute it requires participation in ideas, in your voice, and your concepts, and your constructs of how you do things. And they're very good at that. Dan and Miles are very good at that. And that has led to us having this culture where, to that end, we have very little turnover in our business. You know, if there's turnover in our business, it's our choice. It's not because people leave, right? And I think that's so important. When you see a lot of turnover in a business, it tells you the culture's bad, right? And of course, there's times where you're going to have that, where you have a pruning within your business. But more often than not, when you see businesses that are stable and people just don't leave, it's because there's a solid culture there, whether they know it or not.
Could you describe the business a little bit? I think some of our listeners will know just what you do and all that kind of, but could you just describe your business, like what products do you sell?
Of course, 100%.
And then also after that too, like I guess the structure. You mentioned key department heads. Like how is the company structured and what size is it?
Sure. I don't know what we're size-wise compared to other businesses in our field, but obviously we're All Good Zenith Labs, and we have a number of supplements that are out there, both in the general fields and then some niche products that we have as well, which you can also check out at allgood.com and at zenithlabs.com.
I wish we had like a ticker to go and just flash across the screen. Don't make that happen.
You can also reach me simply at alex@allgood.com should you want to reach out to me after this podcast. In any case, we see ourselves as we're a Diamond Elite vendor with ClickBank, and we are also an affiliate. You know, so we're a super affiliate. A lot of people don't realize that just because you're a Diamond vendor doesn't mean you're not also a Diamond affiliate. So, you know, we cover both sides of the track. And how we've built it and developed it, again, I think it's been Dan's vision of getting people that he interacts with wants to give a voice to. I remember when I interviewed with Dan, all those years ago, he wanted to know what my thoughts and my vision was for what, coming into my role and how I could contribute to our company. And of course, coming from a background where when I was in the hotel world, one of my jobs was training culture. It's actually what I did. And in making sure we had it established at every hotel from the general manager down. And so when I came in to All Good, Zenith Labs, that was my thought process automatically ingrained in my head. That's what I'm going to do with whatever I have here. And Dan, so beautifully, was already in that frame of mind. It's always great to work with a visionary who wants to surround himself with team members who can be complementary in the building of the business. And I think that's where Dan has really excelled and been able to grow a business is when you have a dynamic personality that can listen to what people are saying and include them and incorporate them into what you're doing. That in and of itself is the yeast that makes everything grow. Mm-hmm. It's a collaboration. And when you're collaborative in building a business, you're going to see the success and the fruit of a number of people's ideas, right? I'll just go to one other quick little story. We have what was called an executive committee when I worked in the hotel world. And our CEO had a trash can outside the door. And wherever we were at in the country, we would come in from out in the field. And he had these name tags made for us, although we never wore them. We wore them to these meetings, and we threw them in a trash can right outside the door. Because he had this rule that at that table, everyone was equal. Every voice was equal, and every vote counted for the same, including over his own vote and voice. So and there were 13 of us, so that it would never be a tie, and we would hear the sum of the whole at that table. And whatever the sum of the whole for the greater good was, that's what our company did, right? Awesome. So if you'd get the best of the ideas all out on the table, without the fear of retribution was always the big point. Because for me, I was the lowest level of, everyone there was practically my boss, but not at that table, right? Ideas and thoughts and how we could construct things and make them better. Everyone had an equal voice because ideas, they don't go by this culture of rank, right? If you want to hear what people are thinking and saying, you got to give them the ability to be able to do that without the fear of reprisal, which we had, and I think that's what made us so effective, right? And it helped us to establish and build a culture. And I think Dan organically was already of that same frame of mind, and it's been a hybrid of what we did, in the hotel world here, because again, he's going to listen to what everybody has to say. Sometimes we go those directions, sometimes we don't, but more often than not, they're certainly included in his thought process to hear what the team has to say, because we're the ones out in the field on a daily basis, and he's the visionary, who's 1,000 feet up kind of watching things. And so there's that good dynamic of understanding I'm the visionary and you're the folks that are going to execute this, and how do I best facilitate you being able to do your job? Yeah. And that's where culture really comes into play in terms of how a business is built. Back to your initial question, Thomas. That's how our business was built. I think that we have a lot of people on our team. My wife is our executive administrator, and she does inventory now, and Miles and the different department heads. We have a lot of conversation and dialogue amongst us and calls and communication, which is a lot of times sorely missing, because it builds that rapport and dynamic within your team, so that whether you realize it or not, you are developing and building a culture. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, through relationships, right?
Through relationship building.
A unified acceptance that this is the way we like things to work.
Right.
And then facilitating relationships upon that agreed understanding, which is really interesting. So I think that beautifully transitions into the other piece of this, which is the relationship side. So a big part of, you mentioned also in hospitality, was the relationships you had with direct reports. I'm curious of how that skill set, obviously very, very high, and you were able to do a great job with, has translated over into the affiliate world for you in terms of building relationships. Because I realized I was getting we could probably talk culture all day, and I also want to say, oh, you said this phrase that just really jumped out. And we'll get back to that later if I remember it. You had just an awesome phrase. But yeah, I'm really curious to see the relationships as an affiliate manager and how you kind of utilize that externally from the culture that you have internally in your business.
Sure. When you, again, for me, I was educated in that field when I came into the hotel world. So we used a training system called Myers-Briggs. In fact, when we hired people, I was an instructor in Myers-Briggs, and we would panel them and we would walk them through Myers-Briggs, because for us it was about not just finding qualified people. we wanted to find the right fit. And that's the huge part of culture, is making sure that it's not about who's the most qualified. Because oftentimes those people can be a huge stumbling block in what you're trying to build. What you're trying to find is the right fit.
Yeah.
You're trying to find the right personality. For example, if we had a hotel in New York, I wasn't going to take a general manager that we hired for the South and put him in New York, or vice versa, because they wouldn't fit. Are they qualified? Yes, but fit is important. So for me, I take that same philosophy when I'm working with affiliates, right? Whether we're working with people in the Ascend program or people that are just coming at us wanting to promote our products, I try to find out what kind of a fit they're going to be for us and how we can help them. As I know most other affiliate managers do, you're trying to size up that person and you're trying to see how are they going to best fit to help us, right? We have more metrics and data that we use certainly in our industry, but again, that philosophy is there. When I'm talking to an affiliate, I like to get them on a call. I want to see them face to face, because if I can see them face to face, you can get a read for the person. You're starting the relationship building process, whether they know it or not. And when you're able to do that, you can get that sense of, based on this conversation, I don't know how this is going to work, or how much time I should invest. There's people out there that we work with that are newer that I feel like is going to be the next John LeCompte, for example. Working with a guy from the Ascend program. This is not a plug for it, but Ben Russell is a perfect example of someone that came on board promoting one of our products, working his way almost to platinum now. And again, when you talk to someone like that, he's infectious. His personality's that way.
Yeah, Ben's a great kid for sure. Yeah,
spent a lot of time with him in New York when we were there for the last event. And again, relationship. I'm like, this is a relationship worth investing in, because whether it's with our products or our partner products out there, this is going to be someone that's going to be a superstar, and in the long run, he's going to win, and we're going to win with him, right? And that's a big part of the culture too, is wanting to see people win. And finding those diamonds in the rough, so to speak. It's funny.
Unpolished diamonds.
Yeah,
right.
Well, I like how we could actually say that, and it means diamonds.
Yeah, it does mean that. And he's one of those kind of guys. And there are a number of people coming out of that program that, you guys are able to identify. Again, it's the same thing. You see a fit, you see certain things and attributes about them, not just the sales, but the personality and the person.
What are those attributes you're looking for that aren't sales? Because I hear this from a lot of sellers that I don't think they'll disagree with what you're saying, but what they say is, I only want to work with the big affiliates. I only want to work with the big people. I don't want to work with the small affiliates. Like, I don't want to deal with all the noise and
they want to boil it down to numbers, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I want the numbers that look the largest.
I just want to work with the people that matter. Quote unquote.
Keep thinking that way is what I would say. Because why I say that is because when you have programs like ours, right, working with smaller affiliates, right, I'm looking for John LeComptes. I have plenty of high-end, top-end affiliates that we work with and list managers that we work with that are always going to be there for us, that we have great relationships with. And that's not where I'm looking to build for the future. I'm looking to add to that level of affiliate we have, and that requires work on my part. If I'm going to be an effective affiliate manager, I need to be able to find those pieces of coal out there that we can put some pressure on and turn them into a diamond, because again, that benefits me. I don't call competitive products to us competitors, I call them partners. We market their products, they market ours, and we've built a dynamic ecosystem. And I want these affiliates to be good for all of us, right? Because when they win, we all win. And if you have this philosophy where I'm only going to work with larger affiliates, let's see let's look at your same data and metrics that you're using now to determine that in 3 or 4 years versus those that are building a culture with people that are coming new into the industry, right? Who just need a chance. Dan was that person at one point in time, right? You can name any program, right? And all those programs, they were new at one point. And it seems like one thing that is hugely lacking in our industry is this relationship dynamic, right? Because if they don't have someone to come and rally around them, right? How are they ever going to break through? How are you ever going to get that pool of where are the next big affiliates? They're right in front of you. They're not just going to show up one day and they're doing $1 million a month in revenue. That's just not going to happen. They're developed over time. What that's saying is I'm going to wait and let other people develop them and not have a part in it, but I want to enjoy the fruits of that labor. Our philosophy is we're going to help find those people, right, that have the right attitude, the right ambition, the right view of this is going to take a lot of hard work, because what we do is not easy. Yeah. Anyone that's listening to this podcast knows that this is not an easy thing to do. So when you see someone that has these small wins, sometimes those smaller wins like that Ben Russell is having is so much more meaningful than when we have a win, right? Because it's expected of us. It's what we do. It's not what they do. It's new to them, and they need people there that are at our level to celebrate that with them. And what you do in them is you establish a culture of winning and success, and then you start developing the next Jen LeConte, the next big superstar, right? And I want to be a part of their history. I want to be a part of their narrative, right? I want our culture at All Good to be that as affiliates grow and develop in our space and become successful, that there's a commonality, and that's what we played a big part, right along with the ClickBanks, right along with the ship offers, right along with all the key partners that we've developed over the last few years that will be theirs also.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I do with these newer affiliates is I introduce them to I treat them like you guys brought me a platinum or a diamond, right? I treat them just the same. I introduce them to the same people. I get them in the DRMP group because those are the things that they need. They need the relationships. They need to understand this is what culture looks like for teams that are big and that win. And this is what it looks like. And the best way for them to see it is to show them.
Yeah. Man, that was awesome. I just had super cool. So for those that didn't kind of catch it, I think one of the things that really stood out. So just this is a question I've been lingering. So anytime you're getting like a new affiliate, or you're seeing somebody that maybe they grab the offer from the marketplace and they start maybe bubbling up and seeing some performance, like, or basically if anyone asks to promote, you're getting on the video with every single intake or every single person that fills out a form to say, I want to promote the offer. I just want to confirm that you're getting a video call with almost all those people, or some people you just disqualifying before that point.
Well, without getting into numbers, I have a lot of affiliates.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Tens of thousands of them.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean they all promote, because a lot of the big affiliate programs will tell you that. You get 400 or 500 people a week that sign up, and of those, maybe less than 1% are going to promote. What I'm doing is I'm looking for those that are reaching out to us, right? That's where I start with. Have they reached out to me? And I can tell... I want to be careful here. I get a lot of emails. I'm going to take just a quick little bunny trail here and stand on a soapbox for a minute. A lot of programs that are out there.
Take that soapbox, Alex. It's good. It's good.
that sell programs to people, and this is a big pet peeve of mine in terms of the relationship building. Well, I'll get an email. It's a canned email from these programs out there that sell people pipe dreams, because those that can't do typically teach. So there's a lot of people that will email me. I'm in this program for this person. I need 90% a payout. I need a hash list. And it's just like, okay, this is the one thing I wish I could say to this new affiliate is that's not how you do this, right? It's not about what you're asking me for, because those kinds of things are earned in our business. And they don't know that because they've been getting bad information from people that just want to take money from them and sell them nonsense. When in the reality is what I tell them is look, you can call me, text me, get on a phone call with me, and I'll do a session with you for free, and I won't charge you a penny. And I'll show you as best I can the best do's and don'ts practices of what made us successful for free. And I will save you months and thousands of dollars of time and effort to be successful if that's what you want, right? And you can see that. And more often than not, this is what they want because these are what these programs have taught them. They have not taught them about culture. They haven't taught them about building a rapport and a relationship with the vendors. It's just a shotgun approach to just blast everybody, go through the marketplace, email them all, ask for the moon. When in reality the thing I wish I could tell these new affiliates is it's about the relationship that you're building and that you're trying to build, and you only get one chance to make a first impression, right? Yeah. And when that's your first impression, to your point, in my mind, I don't like having to do this, but it goes to the bottom of my list.
Yeah.
Right? It's the guy who says, like, I've been promoting for 2 or 3 months. I'm not doing well. I don't know what I'm doing. That's the kind of guy I'm going to reach out and say, let's get on a call. Let's talk. Let's see what you're doing. Show me your links. I'm not an expert in how to promote, right? I'm an expert in what I do, which is to help them be successful. And that's by taking them to those other relationships, like the account managers at ClickBank, like other peers that can help them, the Spark program. These are not plugs, honest to God. It's literally what I do every day. When people
we could attest to this. It's not just a plug. Like, Alex has been promoting Spark for months and months and months in this way. And like, why do you keep doing that? And we're not even giving
no.
So, but yeah, no, very much so. And I think one of the things you see in that, we talk about relationships, a generic email that's blasted out with a request is an inauthentic way to start off a relationship. It's inauthentic in the fact that, one, it's probably a copy and pasted email, you said. And two, it's, like I said, asking for something. It's your first interaction is, what can you give me? at the end of the day, they're still giving you commissions, the ability to make money and have an offer just by being a part of an affiliate program. And it's almost like, not enough, I want more. And I know that's probably not looked that way, but I could really see versus, like you said, the person with, contriteness coming to you humbly and saying, hey, I want to succeed. I'm not right now. Is there anything else that I could do? Because you're right. Those are the people that get you excited, that get you out of bed in terms of, like you said, the diamond in the rough.
Sure.
Because ultimately, the one thing that we truly know about this business, sometimes there's luck, there is a lot of things that could go into it, but people that are just committed to working at it and kind of doing the work and putting it in there, more often than not, it's just a matter of time before they become those diamonds, right? You just need to, especially if you can nudge and guide them along the way, because they'll put in the work.
And to that point, the ones that really get my attention are the ones that tell me about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm doing. Not a novel, but they'll say, "This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm from. These are some ideas I have." I love that because they're looking to have an exchange with me about how can I best do this, right? As opposed to gimme. Not that, of course, we want to be there to give them things, obviously, but it's about building a relationship. And I wish these courses, the first thing that they would teach them is, this is how you approach people as a human and build relationship. Then you start asking for those things, and they can happen quickly for you, but that's important.
Yeah. Now, can I program an AI to address people like a human? No, just kidding.
Well, what we were talking about is that, because I think we all probably approach people a similar way. It's like people like to help people that are helping themselves, because you want your advice or your experience or whatever you're giving that person to actually matter. If you're just trying to give that to everybody, knowing that most people aren't going to take it or aren't going to use it or aren't going to do that thing, it's really hard to kind of keep giving yourself that way. But because, we get so many cold DMs linked on LinkedIn or email or social media, just like, hey, can you help me? I'm trying to, and I ignore a lot of them because they're that kind of thing. Like, just what should I do next? And it's just, you can tell they're kind of just like hitting probably everyone they can find at ClickBank for help. But the people that do reach out with something specific, I think specific goes a long way of, here's what I'm doing. Here's what's not working for me. I'm not sure what to do. I'll respond to those all day.
Yep.
Right. And it's like, cool. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? And I had some great conversations over Instagram chats, over YouTube comments, or cool. Hey, let's hop on a quick call. We'll see how can I help. Yeah. Happy to do that when someone's specific with what they're doing. And you can actually tell they're invested and actually trying versus the shotgun approach. Why doesn't this work? Is this a scam kind of thing? It's like, well, okay, I'm going to move on because that's out there everywhere. I'm curious with the other thing that you're doing, I think, is that you're building, I think loyalty in this space is very tenuous, right? Because it is such a dollar wins at the end of the day kind of thing, who can pay the most money, who can get the affiliate to promote. But I think you probably are building some degree of loyalty in to these affiliates when you can help them from that point and as they grow. I would have to imagine the next time you launch an offer and you approach, Ben down the road or whatever, he's going to be much more likely to test that than he would have otherwise, even if you did have a great offer down the road.
Yeah, to that point, we don't have a problem getting people to test stuff for us because, to your point, building relationship builds loyalty and it builds rapport. Just as a side note, it's not just with the affiliates. I mean, we have built what we've built by the relationships that we've built with the people sitting in this room. Mm-hmm. I know so many different people here at ClickBank. Again, not a plug, but people that I know really well that I've become friends with. Same thing at Ship Offers, Josh and Max Noble, that team over there. They understand the dynamic. Tony Grubmeyer understands that probably better than most people, how to get a hold of a person and really put a focus on them and make them feel appreciated and wanted and appreciated as a person, more than just business. Like just watching him spend time with our team, for example, it was nothing about, this was before we were working with Ship Offers, nothing about what we were working on, but just personal interest and those things matter. They count. Same thing from when I hear from Josh or Max or the team over there. It's because it's very personal, right? We've built very deeply personal relationships with our team. My manufacturer who works with Ship Offers, Jeff, close friend of mine, become a very close friend. We've worked with him the entire time. And again, you build, to your point, you build some trust. You build rapport, and when I need something, not just from affiliates or testing or things like that, or if I need to get a hold of Justin here at ClickBank or Kyle or Eva or whoever, I know that I'm going to be able to trade on the relationship that we've built. I have loyalty. They have loyalty to me. I have loyalty to them because they know I'm all in on what they're doing, right? Whoever those partners are, and that's so important, not just at the affiliate level, but in everything that we're doing in our space is that you have loyalty because we all also know at this table that there's a lot of disloyalty and there's a lot of dirty stuff that happens out there, and there's a lot of god awful things that happen, and we all see it, right? But we all know that there are those relationships that are out there that we bank on, we can count on, and go to when we need something, and they're pretty rare to find in our field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's interesting. We had so many new people enter in, but one of the things that I really love when you talk about relationships, and you had such a good example, you don't have any problem getting testing. You know, when someone wants to test, hey, it didn't go well, they know that you're going to go back and work and test again. But one of the things happens in the absence of a relationship, all you are and all your offer is numbers. And numbers, well, they don't lie, and when they're good, they provide benefit. When they are gone and change, you also get no equity to test again, to have anyone care about your offer. And we've seen that too. We've seen plenty of offers that maybe relationally people did not like, or there wasn't a strong relationship behind the numbers. And as soon as those numbers disappeared, that individual had no other place to go, right? If you don't have the numbers, what else do you have? But with a relationship, even if the numbers aren't there, you still have an opportunity to get them there. The opportunity doesn't stop. So I think that's just one of those powerful things. And especially for new people when they're starting out, oftentimes they feel all they could be is a number, when in reality, their most value might be in the relationship and starting and building that first, showing that you could be somebody that could bring value in any way, even if it's just somebody that's exciting to talk to because you provide hope, and somebody that knows more than you, of like, wow, there's still good people out there. We can continue to develop them, and you could be great in the future, even if you aren't right now. So I think that's, we always know there's a lot of people out here that are new in their journey that listen to this, and sometimes looking for a tactic or something like this. At the end of the day, build a strong relationship, and that can be one of the biggest differences. So with that, I think one of the challenges, or maybe what we could talk about, is how do you get started? This is where Thomas needed some help. Yeah. So we obviously don't have Tinder for business relationships, and I don't know if we'd want that. But what are some of the steps and things that you would encourage others to do to start building these relationships and create something that's going to be beneficial to their lives and their business?
Now, this will be a plug for ClickBank, but when you, especially people that are listening to this are working with ClickBank, so that's a given, I think. Reach out to your account managers.
You better be.
You reach out to the people that are here, because what you don't see, and I'm talking directly to these newer affiliates, is you don't see when the people here are looking out for you and looking to see how you're doing. They will plug and connect you to the relationships that you're going to need. So many times, I don't know how many times a month, Eva or Michael Lohman or Justin will send someone my way and say, hey, brand new person just starting out, because they know I'm going to take that call. This is a new person starting out. They are the right fit in person that we think would be good for you. You need to lean into what you have. It's tough being new because you don't know a lot of people, but there are people out here that understand that dynamic. I can say this. When we go to the events and there are new people there that we connect with, I have them join me at the hip, and I take them and I introduce them to everybody I know, because that's how they're going to do it. Is you just have to take a leap of faith. You have to step out. You go to events if you can. Go to ASE, ASW. Go to these events and network, because it's so important. You're never going to do it behind a keyboard. You're just not. And even Zoom is great, but there's something special about being in front of a person face to face. Get out there, even when you're new. Make it happen, because when you find the right relationships, those relationships will work for you. They will help introduce you. They will help get you around. And I'm hoping that this podcast will have an effect on people that do have this influence. There are so many people in our space that have these connections and this influence. And if they would just open their hearts to new people, let them in, show them around, they don't realize that in 3 and 4 years that our entire field and industry could be grown by that if we would all participate in that. It doesn't help if there's just a few of us doing it. I wish that if I could just snap my fingers and every vendor out there, our size and smaller, bigger, larger, whatever, was following the philosophy of building relationship and giving people a chance, right? To make connections, to introduce them to people. But you got to ask. If you're the new affiliate, you got to ask. You got to lean into
or the new seller, right? Because it's it goes both ways. We hear how many times people come on almost complain like, oh, well, All Good or Line or Venus, they have all these affiliate relationships already. It's unfair. Like, how can I get exposure like they do? It's like, well, have you been in the business for 20 years and have you been building these relationships for over a decade, right? And it's like they have a reason for that. But what I do like about what you said is that there's a lot of people in this space that are willing to give their time and energy and advice But it does take that initial ask. It does take that
does.
initial put out there. It's like you can't just wait for it to happen. You have to, if you can't travel, join the Facebook groups,
Right.
Join the different Slack channels or the different Telegram groups. Like just start networking and putting yourself out there. We've got some different episodes earlier on in this podcast about how to network online, how to network in person, right? If you're not sure what it means to quote unquote add value, there's ways you can do that, even if you are new, where you don't have to sit there and wait to get experience. You can jump in with both feet. And people will notice, and you'll be a name on someone's lips when, oh, have you chatted with X?
Right.
And that's where you want to start getting to, where things are kind of coming your way at that point.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I think one thing that's really powerful too is sometimes we go back all the way to the beginning of the conversation and say, I only want to work with the biggest, the best, and so on and so forth. Yet at the same time, that's a lot of people that want that, right? You want what a lot of people want when there's very few of the biggest and best. But that doesn't mean that two people that could be small can't become big on their own, even by working with each other. So, for example, if maybe you are at a stage that going to, traveling to an event might be too much for you, or maybe that's something you're like, I'm not sure I could spring that. Who in your area is interested in the same thing? Who is the person that could become that super affiliate, but maybe they're struggling right now? And it sounds odd, but hey, if I have a product and here's someone trying to learn how to sell stuff online on Facebook, maybe we're both small right now, but we just build that relationship that's mutually beneficial. Or on the flip side, I'm kind of a mid-level vendor. And it's just like, hey, maybe it's hard for me to break into the top vendors, whatever they might be, or affiliates, so on and so forth. Well, what if I found a lot of people at the same level of me as an affiliate? They might be able to drive 10 to 30 sales a day, and they're happy, and we work together, and we get that to be 40 sales a day, 50, 60 sales a day, and you get 6 of them doing that. All of a sudden, you could create volume and numbers with good, loyal relationships.
You just described a mid-7-figure offer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's great because right now people think, well, I bet I could probably find somebody and figure out how to get 20 to 30 sales a day if they were small and trying their best and working that out. You're like, that seems feasible. It does. It's a lot less feasible to go be somebody that maybe doesn't have the numbers, experience, time, and just start off and going to the largest affiliate in the room and expecting them to say, of course, I'll promote your offer, right? Just off the floor cold without knowing them. So I think there's lots of opportunities, but the power, and like you said, is it's not only knowing what we could do. I'd say it's not what you could do for me, but what could we do together? And if a relationship starts off that way, you don't necessarily have to go to a massive event. Find people locally. Find somebody in your life, whoever it might be, that could be that next person, that next relationship that gets you one step closer. And after a while, enough relationships, enough steps, you're here on our podcast talking about
that Lucas
right?
Lino podcast. I don't think you were on it actually, but chatting with him on it, it's like he moved to Orlando from Brazil. He was getting some things going, and he just was sharing what he was doing with his neighbors. And he's like, "Oh, did you chat with?" I can't remember the guy's name now, but another guy doing media buying on Facebook. What? No. And then he started getting connected to this little local network in his apartment building, and now he's a Diamond Elite media buyer, right?
Yeah.
And he's learned and mentored or was a mentee from some of those people who were doing what he wanted to do, and just happened to find, because he was sharing that with, just, oh, this is what I do, this is what I'm doing, not like oh, I'm trying this out and I hope it works, right? But proud of it, sharing it out. People he was obviously excited. People got him connected to the right people just through neighbors.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild. The stories are always wild, but they all center around what you talked about, Alex, which is really the relationships. And I think you're right. Sometimes it can be competitive. We live in an environment where media costs are high, performance has to be big, and you have to have this CPA or that or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I think those are stories we tell ourselves in absence of relationships that exist, right? So you have to have this to even have a conversation. Well, not really, right? It really should be around general relationships. What can I have? Can I be honest? That's a big piece. No good relationship starts out with a lie, right? So if you're out there and you're honest and specific and authentic, start a relationship with whoever you can. And if you could value each other, that's a win, right? And let those wins keep compounding and compounding and compounding. And I really love what you said. I think it's a challenge for all of us as we're more established to reach back, reach down, and find those and build those relationships and help those other people out.
Can I give a quick example of like a well-meaning lie? I guess I see a lot that happens, right? And it's like hey, meet at, say, Platinum Summit coming up or something like that, and like meet a big media buyer. Hey, cool. Okay, yeah, can you test? Yeah, happy to test. And they probably are happy to test, but then 2 weeks later, we're catching, oh yeah, that person said they're going to test. They haven't yet. A month later, yeah, they sent a few clicks, but nothing really. 3 months later, yeah, nothing really panned out there. And then there's a bad taste in someone's mouth because someone said they're going to test and didn't really happen. And that's just one scenario. Sure. Like, and you see it happen all the time because I think affiliates or sellers want to be able to commit to something in the moment. Like, yeah, that sounds great, without really realizing that no, they can only really scale. They can test maybe 3 offers at once, and they can really scale one of those, and they've already got 30 on their pipeline that they need to get to. But having that kind of conversation, going, hey, I'd love to. I can probably get to it in 3 months, right? Puts you, Alex, in a much better situation on how to work with that person now and get them what they need on the time frame that will actually work with you two, instead of thinking, hey, this is going to be great right when we get back home, and now there's missed expectations both ways.
Because oh, go ahead, Alex.
I was going to say, you only have so many times that you can do that, because one thing that's also true in our space is that we all talk.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of bad reputation. There's a lot of great reputations. There's people out there that have bad reputations that we all know. And you only have so many times that you can do that, and you don't want to use up that equity, right? Relationships are hard to build. Once you have them built, it's what you just said. Be honest in your dialogue, right? Do what you say you're going to do. And if things change and you can't tell them, right? Because again, that you can destroy a relationship as fast as you can build it by doing those kinds of things. And people want to be able to rely on. If I need something from our vendors and partners, I know who I can trust and who will get the job done. Nothing's perfect. We're not perfect. No one's perfect. But it's about staying in that sweet spot of 95% of the time I'm going to be able to get done what I need to get done for you. And then there's that 5% that's, for whatever reason, it couldn't get done. But it was not about a motivation or intent or being dishonest about things. And I think that's, in our industry, there's so many people that run their information like they're North Korea, right? And it's a huge frustration because you talk to a lot of the bigger programs, we're not honest. We don't share the data that we need to. You don't have to share every dollar figure, but my God, share information. It's one of the biggest things when we get on calls with bigger affiliates and bigger vendors. That's the big complaint. Nobody shares information that's real, or they want to speak in generalities. Come on, at this point, we know. We have access to information. We all know what's going on. Let's be open and honest. I was talking to a Diamond affiliate who doesn't come to the events a lot anymore, and it was for that reason. Said, because when I come there, no one's willing to talk about real information or they give BS information,
And I guess, well, pinning to a wall here, but do you have an example of what like real information you mean there? Like, I guess
how offers are performing and testing,
okay,
for
gotcha.
example.
Yeah.
Like I'll give just a brief example without mentioning any names. We work with a lot of big list management companies, and one in particular is like, share our information, not dollar amounts, sharing data and information to help people do what we're doing to be successful, because they can see too, this person can see that the only way we're going to help one another, especially in what we do when we're managing our lists, for example, information is so key. Like if we're sending offers and we're scheduling out, we're a huge affiliate too, and so when we're managing, I did list management for the first 5 years of being with All Good as well. And that was a big frustration. How is this going to do? Reaching out for data and information, no one wants to give it. It's not helpful. I mean, if you help me, I can help you.
Hey, what's working well on your list right now? Is that an example there? Like, what are some like those?
We get down into more nitty gritty. We get down into brass tanks when we talk to some of the our partners out there. We'll get into the numbers, very specific numbers. And when you have a good relationship, they're going to tell you. Right. And we have had that with all of our, I can't say that there's a single company or list management company that we work with that doesn't give us the in-depth, detailed metrics that we're looking for, because we want to give that to them too. Yeah. Because then if they're successful, obviously, with all those lists they manage, we sell more product.
Yeah.
Right. And they make more money, and it builds a tremendous dynamic of
it
a
helps
good
you
ecosystem.
give them, on your seller side, helps you give them the best offers or like a 100% for them versus giving them something that might be a dud, right?
Give real numbers.
Yeah.
If you've got a 25% refund rate, don't say it's 10% or 6% or 8%. You're going to burn them.
Yeah.
Be honest. Tell the truth.
Yeah.
And I think one thing to note too is it's not to say that you can't be honest about what you don't know too. I think that's one of the things. Hey, like one of the big things is sometimes, hey, I got really good performance. Give the details, the demographics where that existed. Like one of the big things is like oftentimes people are getting media buying, or hey, we did an email send and got 4% conversion. You're like, wow, that's really high for this type of offer. Well, that was the warm in-house list. We only promote once. I have a personal relationship with it. That's not bad information. It doesn't mean an affiliate's going to say no or someone's going to say no, but now they understand. I had a recent situation where we were trying to pair some traffic with an offer, and it was one of these things where it was just information I didn't think to share. Said, hey, this did really well on the list. And I was like, great. well, we could definitely go share this with some other affiliate managers or other list managers. And then did it, and they sent it out. And the first thing that happened, it was on a general health list, and the performance was substantially lower. And so I came back and was like, can you tell me more about the list you sent? And I was like, well, it was a politically motivated list. And I was like, well, that's a totally different list. Not a problem, but giving that information, what you can share, the honesty of that actually allows you to pair it better and set proper expectations. So I think, again, it's just that honesty and truth. And at the end of the day, it can feel scary. You can feel like it's going to, truth can make you be taken advantage of, or that people will say no. But an honest no is better than a truthful yes, or a false yes, right?
100%.
Like because all that means at the end of the day, numbers don't lie. And if you don't build a relationship properly through lies or misexpectations, you just become your numbers. And if your numbers don't work, then you are going to be in a tough spot. And like you said, it's a limited run time. So
then what are the assumptions that person makes when I tested that on their list? They said it was a proven swipe copy and it bombed. So it must not have been very proven. They lied to me or versus, oh no, they said it was ran to a political list. I'll try it anyway because hasn't been run to health before. Oh, it bombed. Oh, well, I guess it would do well with health. Right?
Yeah.
It's a very different reaction to that person when that list when that offer doesn't perform for them, when they know that this is more of a gamble for me versus this might be a sure bet.
Or even coming back and say, hey, you did that. I'm worried the offer might be good. What can we do with the swipe? Because I remember in this situation said, well, let's actually go look at now that swipe comes into question.
Sure.
And so media, it's like your creative might not fit. Let's go look at what other creative out there in general health seems to be doing well and pair that with your swipe. Let's look at those differences. It even changes your ability to be successful. So I just think it comes down to is that pureness and honesty. And I know sometimes it can feel scary and it can feel tough. But I'd always say, I'd rather fail in honesty than succeed by lying, right? At the end of the day, success is not measured by lack of failure, right? You're gonna lose, but you'll learn if you're honest about it, and people will learn that you're honest, which is always valuable. So even if it's honest to a fault, which sometimes I feel like I could fall into that category. Yes. Thomas reminds me is that Oklahoma seems to
Inside
come up.
thoughts. Yeah.
But no, that's amazing. Well, I just realized we were getting close on time, and I think I was getting lost in just the importance of this conversation because I think all three of us could agree at the table that relationships have made our careers where they are today. If it wasn't for them, I could guarantee I wouldn't have any of it. Wouldn't be able to be here, wouldn't be able to enjoy the time that we have with you guys. And I'd agree that I think in times, and sometimes you can feel rough out there for a lot of these affiliates and people are struggling. We're going through a lot of changes. It sounds like we're talking about puberty. I'm sorry, but relationships could be made at any point in time and they're always valuable. So to really commit to that, whether it's somebody that's new, whether it's someone that's old, a better relationship is a better business and definitely a better place to work in. So really appreciate your time, Alex.
No worries.
Again, we'll make sure in the show notes, there's ways to get a hold of you.
Sure.
Fantastic offers, fantastic person. I put it this way, if you would love to reach out just to learn more from Alex, talk to him, that'd be great. But I'm going to put one thing in there. Be serious and honest and intentful if you reach out to Alex. I don't want somebody reaching out just to, again, with a copy and paste scam or something that's just lazy and not showing that intent. So show with intent, show your heart out. Thomas, anything else you want to add or any other questions you have for Alex before we let him go?
I am curious how you do some of this on a remote team because but that's a whole maybe other thing to bring you back about because I think that's where a lot of the industry, even before COVID, a lot of the industry was remote already because of the nature of our businesses. But yeah, I'm curious how versus a hotel, with the staff internally.
That's a whole. You could do a whole podcast on.
Well, luckily Alex is here locally, so
bring
it's
it back.
always easy. Yes, we might have to do that another. Because
Yeah.
I do think actually building teams and culture in a remote environment would be a fantastic podcast because it's a huge challenge. And I would tell you, from small to large, it is a challenge. And there's definitely people that do it well, and there's people that might struggle with that. So that might be a way to get you back. Because if this was too good, I don't want it to be a one-time deal.
Yeah.
So, without anything else that you could tell the crowd before we head off.
Don't be afraid to build relationships. Don't be afraid to ask for things. We're not all the same. Some of us are. I'm an introvert, believe it or not. I come off as an extrovert, but that's because my career and my life has forced me to do that. And you too can become effective in what you're doing, even if you're an introvert. Don't be afraid and, reach out, ask for help. You're not going to get it if you don't ask. And that's how relationships start, right?
Yeah.
I think that's
Listen,
summary.
just because you're an introvert does not mean you need to be alone. That is a misconception, right? You just don't need to be in front of everybody all the time. Weirdo extroverts. So, well, with that, what we normally say, what do we tell the people? Well, first, rate, review, subscribe, do all the things, hit the bells, hit the whistles, subscribe to the email list. One other actually really important thing, you guys might notice that Thomas loves to hug this pillow in an adorable way during our pillow talk session. I challenge any of you, if you could think of other pillows, please go to affiliate@clickbank.com. Send us some other pillows that we might be able to get for Thomas, creating a whole theme with what pillow Thomas will hug for this episode or for this month. With that, Thomas, what do we tell the people?
We tell them it's all good, but we also tell them happy scaling.
Happy scaling. We're awesome. Until next time, have a good one. Thank you.